The spies. Spies go in, spies comes out, spies go, we're going to die. Everybody believes them. They cry for nothing. And because they cry for nothing, they basically lose. That generation loses the ability to go to Israel. And from every generation afterwards, God says, this is the root of destruction. Right? It's called tears of vain. And this is what we do every single year. We sit down at a holiday called Tisha B'Av, and that holiday of Tisha B'Av, which is the most ominous day on the calendar, the destruction of the temples, the bad stuff that happened throughout history, all happened on that day, this week's Torah portion. And the question is, what went wrong? So if you look at the story closely, you find something amazing. When they report back, when the spies come back from Israel, they report to the nation. And they say, we got these fruits, and it's amazing, but there are these giants. And then they say the following line that sort of throws everybody into a tizzy. They say, the cities were these massive fortified cities, and there were giants living between them, and there's no way we're going to beat these people. And that sort of makes sense, right? Like, if you've got a nation, like, they didn't have helicopters, they didn't have drones back then, right? So if you're basically like swords and shields, and you're going up against a walled city, a fortified city, then you're going to lose. So that's what they said, fortified cities. And that sort of was one of the key reasons why people gave up. But what's amazing is that, where did they get the knowledge to even look for fortified cities? Like, these guys aren't military people. These are slaves. The answer actually is in Moses himself. Moses actually tells them, look to see if the cities are fortified. Why? Listen to what Moses is thinking about. Moshe wanted to see if the cities were fortified because if you sit behind a fortified city, does that mean you're strong or you're weak? Really strong people don't need an alarm system or a fortress around their house. People that are worried about the outside world create more defenses to the outside world. So therefore, if you're sitting behind a fortified city, then you may have a wall to contend with, but the people inside aren't strong. Moshe was teaching them, if you see a fortified city, that means we've got a chance. They walked in and saw a fortified city, and that meant we have no chance. Two people, the exact same thing they're looking at, and one person goes, yes, we can, and one person goes, no, we can't. That is the difference between success and failure, between winning and destruction, between overcoming challenge and succumbing to challenge. It's not the objective thing in front of you. It's your interpretation of it. The sin of the spies wasn't fear. They're allowed to be normal. The sin of the spies was perspective. They saw something, and immediately because they saw something, they assumed the worst. Why? Listen to this. Later on in Devarim, it says, Moshe is telling the story, and Moshe says that you grumbled in your tents and you said, God took us out because he hated us. They thought that God hated them, didn't love them. They didn't appreciate that God was believing in them. And if you don't feel that someone believes in you, when you look at something that's in front of you, you assume the worst. Most of us go through life, and some days we get sweet, and some days things are sour. And when you go through the things that are challenges, the question isn't whether or not there's a challenge. The question is your perspective of the challenge. Is that a challenge, the proof that someone doesn't like me, or I can't, or I failed, or I'm not enough? Or is that a proof that there's something in there that I can overcome and that I am? When you look at great people, they don't have easier lives. They just have better perspective. And if we clean our lens and enhance our perspective, then maybe we can reach our own personal promised land, even if there are walls in front of us.